Welcome to This Week in History, hosted by the Clinton Public Library. Remember to subscribe to our channel so you can be notified for future videos.
Hello everyone, and this week for our history dive, we are going to talk about the first Red Scare, which happened in the post-World War I era, pre-World War II era, where everyone was scared of the Red Menace, which may sound familiar. The same thing happened post-World War II, but we are focusing on the 1920s specifically January 1920, because of an event that happened that tied in very closely to Clinton, Indiana. Just for some background information, the Red Scare was the widespread fear of far-left extremism, including but not limited to Bolshevism, because of the Bolshevik Revolution that dethroned the Russian Empire and saw the birth of the Soviet Empire, Soviet Union, and other things such as communism, anarchism, and the American labor movement. So in the late 1919, early 1920s, you started seeing these kind of political cartoons popping up in newspapers. In fact, this one was in the Daily Clintonian on January 26, 1920, out of the melting pot, with them scooping up the Reds for deportation and throwing them into the fire or frying pan that is Russia. You may be asking, what did this have to do with Clinton? Well, it wasn't only the Russians they were worried about. They were also worried about Italian anarchists and labor movement leaders, of which there were quite a lot in Clinton and Vermillion County in general, but quite a few were centered around Clinton. Which brings us to things like this. This is the January 3rd, 1920 Daily Clintonian. Federal men take 6 Clinton radicals, Polo and others of Red Band arrested. Taken in federal net alleged to be spread out for nationwide cleanup. Men likely to be let out on bond. U.S. investigators claim to have goods. All taken and more besides. Have goods on. Charged with working together to overthrow this government. Indiana furnishes 43 to federal net. 6 of these come from Clinton. Others from Gary, Fort Wayne, Terre Haute, and Anderson. Total number of Reds taken over country reaches 4,500. This was a very scary time to be involved with anything that could be considered communist. In fact, also in the January 26th, all alien Reds must get out. Ruling by Secretary of Labor is death blow to communists. Are enemies of the U.S. Manifesto and Constitution of organization shows it seeks to overthrow the government by force or violence in open combat. To summarize the article, it goes on to explain how the Secretary of Labor, stating on the case of Engelbert Priest, whose deportation to Australia was approved as recommended on this day. Any foreigner who signed up with the Communist Party of America or signed into a membership with the Communist Party of America could be deported simply for being signed up in a membership with the Communist Party of America. You'll find several times that comes up in these raids for radicals is that they're usually foreigners, Italian aliens, Bulgarian aliens, and such. Tensions reached a crescendo in the spring of 1920 when J. Edgar Hoover, yes, that Hoover, warned that people and government should be aware of a potential threat on May Day, where the Reds had organized to attack and assassinate several political members and cause basic general anarchy as a way to further their motives in bringing down the United States government. It even went so far as the army being mobilized. And yet, May Day comes, and nothing happens. It's around this time that public opinion and the courts start siding against law enforcement when it comes to the prosecution of so-called Reds. And thus, the first Red Scare faded out with a whimper.